where do we go with the Chargers? Obviously, they gave Justin Herbert, your man's right here, his bread. He is now the highest paid QB if you include the funny money, with the highest average was at $52.5 million. $52.5 million they have invested heavily into your man's Jay Herbo. They gave him even more weapons. Quentin Johnston, TCU, big addition, big target, a la Keenan Allen and Mike Williams, who are already there. So they could run trips. They could run 11. They could do a lot of creative things. Austin Eckler, even though he was the catalyst to get the running backs on a Zoom and try to figure out why they keep getting shortchanged, he's in camp. He's going to take his medicine, but he wants a new deal. But for him to get that new deal, unfortunately for him, but fortunately for the Chargers, he's going to have to ball out yet again. So Eckler, Johnston in the tuck now, Mike Williams, Keenan Allen, it's all gravy for your man's Jay Herbo, and it should be another relatively easy season of putting big numbers up when you have weapons like that. So Justin Herbert, the offense isn't the problem in LA. As you see here, it was a very pedestrian passing game in yards per attempt, 6.4 yards per attempt. If you want to go in terms of the Kellen Moore offense, Dak Prescott did have 8.18 air yards per attempt. So you would assume by this metric, they're going to air the rock out even more with Kellen Moore at the helm. Boogie down Chargers are not contenders as long as Herbert is QB. He a choke artist. I mean, the whole team choked definitely against Jacksonville in the playoffs last year. That was embarrassing. I think there is something to the Chargers always charging. Like I always say, the Lions will always lion. And they might prove me wrong because they actually have a legit squad this year. But historically, basically my entire life, even with Barry Sanders, even the next generation when they had Megatron, the Lions will always find a way to lion. The Chargers have kind of been that also in my lifetime. The Chargers will always find a way to charger, whether it was Drew Brees, whether it was now with the Justin Herbert version, whether it was, the Junior Seau version back in the day, Humphreys and all that. Like, the Chargers will always find a way to charger. Tomlinson, like, they always find a way to trick it off. I think that's going to be the case again this year, but I do think they get back to the playoffs. Now, for me, as I've been saying, it's the defense for me. And as you see, they really tried to address the defense with even more edge help. Again, ignoring, in my opinion, the lack of interior push. And you see, they lost a lot of interior D linemen and didn't really replace them. I mean, Morgan Fox is okay. Nicholas Williams, I'm not familiar with, but Morgan Fox is okay. But again, I don't see a lot of push. I'm not predicting a lot of push. Eric Kendricks is a solid pickup. But in regards to interior push, I think that's going to be the downfall of the defense. Because the defense, the secondary at one point was very strong, but then they lost a lot in terms of injuries and free agency over the last few years. So I'm not sure what the strength of this defense is. Yes, they have names in terms of Bosa and Khalil Mack, but outside of that, and please correct me if I'm wrong. That's why the chat is there. Or that's why if you watch this on the replay, the comment section is there. If you think I'm bugging, let me know. But I don't think I'm bugging. I think the Chargers defense is the Achilles heel. And I think more importantly, the fact that they have wagered so much on edge rushing instead of interior line play, I think that will be the root that really gets them about the paint very quickly if and when they actually do make the playoffs, most likely as a wild card. Herbert got 3 top-tier pass catching options as well as a top 6 running back. This man has no more excuses. Yeah, see, I don't put the emphasis, like, he'll get the pressure, right? He's the highest paid QB until Burrow signs, until Mahomes redoes his deal. Justin Herbert is the highest paid QB in the league, right? So he's going to get inherent pressure just off that hard stop. I think it's going to be more about the defense. It's going to be more about the coaching if this doesn't end well this year. They're not winning a Super Bowl, okay? So this season is going to end in a loss. It's just how deep are they going to be able to get before that L comes? Is it going to be another wild card weekend defeat? Can they make it to the second round? Can they even make a run to the championship game? Offensively, with the talent they have, they should be able to make that type of run. Unfortunately, coaching in defense is going to hold them back. By how much are they going to hold them back? That's going to be the key with the Los Angeles Chargers. Okay, so last year, they tied for a league low 6 games against opponents with a winning record. And they went 1-5 in those games. Okay? It's a good stat. League low 6 games against opponents with a winning record, and they were 1-5 in those games. So are the Chargers paper champions? Over under 9.5 games for the Chargers. Now remember, they have the 6th most difficult schedule in the league. I just read the stat about how they were against winning teams last year. They only had 6 games against winning teams last year, and they were 1-5 in those games. You could argue with all the losses they've had on defense and not really supplanting that with new and fresh, better talent on defense, that they've taken an even bigger step back defensively. Does that mean that the under is going to be hit pretty easy for the Chargers at 9.5? I think the Chargers have a lot of potential. I think the Chargers should be a team that can offensively compete with the Chiefs. Unfortunately, the defense has been subpar to inferior the last 3 to 4 years, easy. Now, with, I think, even more losses this past offseason, I see them taking another step back, unless some people we don't know flash, which is possible, right? As we said earlier, nothing could shock us. It could be surprising that the Chargers have a good defense. They will certainly prove me wrong, right? But I think the lack of coaching, the ineptitude of Staley, combined with a subpar defense, an inferior defense, add on to that the 6th hardest schedule in the league. Plus, as great as our offense could be, we know Keenan Allen and Mike Williams are always banged up. And I think that's why they went out there and got Quentin Johnston. And now we got Austin Eckler, who's mad about his money. He's out here getting running backs on Zooms across the league to bitch and complain. Deservedly so, but let's call it what it is. So how will he be playing? There's a lot of question marks here with the Chargers, and that's why I'm going to go with Scrub Zero. I think I'm taking the under when it comes to 9.5 for the Los Angeles Chargers for all the reasons I laid out. Do you agree, disagree? Let me know in the chat, live, on the replay, in the comments.